immigrant at the age of 12 to top-ranking tech CEO with an unconventional style, my guest today is the unstoppable Saeed Darahali, the founder and CEO of SimplyCast, a technology company that offers automated marketing and customer services for businesses. It merges email, phone, and social media systems for individuals or businesses to become more efficient. SimplyCast is located in what Saeed has dubbed Silicon Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, that is. He is proud of his community and wants businesses to flourish here. I'm so proud to call Saeed a friend and mentor. He sits down with me at SimplyCast headquarters to discuss business and life as a CEO. Thank you so much, Saeed, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
I know that you came to Canada at the age of 13 with your parents, and that's not so young that you don't remember. I mean, you're coming of age. What was that like, immigrating from the Middle East at that time?
The reason why we left Kuwait was because of the Kuwait-Iraq War. Mm-hmm. And my father wanted to come to Canada back in 1988 because he thought, this would be a great place to live and raise kids. So when we did arrive, I didn't speak a word of English. Mm-hmm. It was actually really tough. I was actually bullied in my first year that I was in school, and it wasn't the greatest experience as a young kid that didn't speak the language, didn't dress the same way that the other kids dressed up. I even remember having a gang of kids beat me up in school, right? So it was a pretty tough experience in the first year. But once you get command of the English language, you start understanding what people are saying, and you start interacting, creating friends and so on. So it's always difficult for any immigrant family, any kid that doesn't speak the language when they do arrive in the country. So it was a wonderful place to be, but it was tough being a kid in a new land that you don't speak the language of, and you don't understand the culture.
Right. Well, I think you integrated pretty quickly, because I love this story about you. You discovered cotton candy at about the age of 14, and then you went to Sobeys to look for it, and you didn't find it there.
Yes.
And so immediately at the tender age of 14, you saw an opportunity, and you actually started a business.
Yes.
And I love this story because at such a young age, it demonstrates how driven you were even back then.
Right.
And enterprising. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Right. So my father and I basically kind of partnered because I couldn't drive at that age, and he could drive. So we bought a truck, we bought a cotton candy machine, and then we started selling cotton candy in about 15 or 20 stores. And then I said, hey, we can probably expand. And so we started driving all the way up to Sheet Harbor, for example, and dropping off cotton candy there in Halifax, in Dartmouth, in Sackville. And I think we grew the empire of cotton candy into 150 stores. And then I became aware that there's an opportunity where we could put it into Sobeys and IGA back in those days. So I spoke to a gentleman that's actually very well known in our community. His name was Robert Orr, which was the CEO of Ocean Nutrition, but he was the vice president of retail at Boland back in the day. And I went there and I said, hey, we'd like to put our products on your shelf. And he said, Saeed, show me a bag of your product. I said, here it is. It says it doesn't have ingredients on it. It doesn't have a UBC code that you scan with. It doesn't have anything on how could we sell this? You need to go get this, this, and this, and that. So I understood what packaging was. I learned what packaging was. I understood what a UBC code, a universal barcode that you need. And I needed $25,000 just to get the product administered and approved by Health Canada. Mm-hmm. And then as the business grew, I had to rent a space. So I rented a space from a gentleman in Caledonia Road in 95, Caledonia, in that little strip plaza.
Right.
We rented almost like 1,000 square feet of space. And at the time, the city, which I probably shouldn't bring up, but I'll bring up, the city gave us a permit to actually operate a cotton candy manufacturing plant in that. After exactly 3 months, they pulled it because they said this location doesn't allow manufacturing in it. And then I was stuck, but I stayed there for a little until we got a new permit and so on and so forth. But
and this is all by the age of what?
By the age of 15. Yeah, so within, I think, about a year and a half, we had operations, and I think I used to carry like $5,000 of cash, every week with me, and I'm going, oh my God, like I have a lot of money with me, and I was very proud that I was operating, and everybody in the city would call us and they said, we need more product, and I would deliver, and I would, leave high school when I was 16 at 3 p.m. and run to go make it with my sisters at night so we can actually go deliver it Friday to Sunday. Because that was the only time. So we would produce all week, and then we would begin delivery Friday to Saturday, Sunday.
And this went on for how many years?
I think I stopped it when I was 18, right? And then I got into other businesses after that.
It's very impressive. You were obviously very driven from an early age. Do you think we're born with that, or can you be made into an entrepreneur?
So I think it's the struggles of my parents.
Right.
And so it's not so much that I learned it, it's because I saw my sisters not affording clothes, I saw my father not working, I saw my mother not working, so I felt it was my responsibility as, the oldest in the family to help my father, help my mother, and that's what it was. I was driven to do that, not because I wanted to. Most of my family have no business experience. My father, so they're mostly academics. I'm the only black sheep in the family that actually went to business and didn't go into a profession of some sort.
So it was born out of need, you would say?
Yeah, no, I was never taught, or I didn't have it in me. It was, I think, because I was forced to help my parents. Yeah, and every penny I made, I gave it to my family.
So, look how far you've come. It's pretty incredible. So we're sitting here at your company, Simply Cast, which you founded.
Right.
And are the CEO of. And what really struck me is that you have an unconventional organizational structure here that obviously works. You have roughly 50 employees and no one has ever left on you, which is incredible. I come from the world of government, which is rigid, top down. I know, for example, like your employees have can work flex hours. They can come in for 1 p.m. There's a foosball table here somewhere. Right. Why did you go down this route, and why do you think it works?
Yeah, so I think my mother taught me that I should respect people regardless of their color, their age, or religion, and so on. And I remember meeting a number of kids that were not from where we came from, and the kids were picking on them when I was really young. And I always remember when my mother said, she says, if you see somebody being bullied or protect them, help them out, because that's the right thing to do. So when I grew up, I always it became part of my DNA that you should always treat everybody the same, because on the inside we have a heart, we have a stomach, we have all the same organs, but on the outside we might be different, but that doesn't make us different people. So when I started a company, I never saw an employee as somebody less than me, or that I'm management, I'm better than them. We're just a group of people working together to try to make an impact on something. So if that is the philosophy that you have as a person, then every single employee has to be treated as if they're your partner rather than your subordinate, right? So I think it really comes from my mother. I wouldn't say it's something that I created. It's just that she wanted us to respect everybody in the best possible way.
Well, good for your mom.
Yes.
I love her already.
Yes, you can come and meet her anytime.
What do you look for in employees?
So there's only two things I look for: is ability to learn and a passion to do something. So if you are passionate about photography, then I want you to work with me. If you're passionate about computer science and development, I want you to come and work with me. So I don't look at your grades, I don't look at what you do, I don't look at any of that stuff. So passion, so if you're passionate about development, chances are you're probably spending a lot of your free time developing, because you're passionate about it, it's a hobby. Simply Cast to me and computer science and programming is a hobby. I used to not sleep for a whole weekend because I was programming. I was playing on games, I was doing a lot of stuff. So to me it's a passion. So I come to work because it's a passion, not because it's work. I don't see it. I used to, my wife would say, as soon as the sun comes out, you're running to work. Right. Because this is where my game is, right? It's not work.
It's not work.
No. And I never come here looking to, I don't want to come to work today because I don't see it as work. And the employees are the same way. They're doing stuff that they love. So
it's definitely a relaxed environment in here, which I quite love.
So I think the word relaxed in most people's mind is people are not as efficient as they'd like to be, where I think our environment is actually very harsh, because when people are doing their passion, they're actually at maximum capacity at all the time. Where when people are at work, and they are forced to come to work, they can't be because they're waiting until the 5 o'clock hits to go home. Where here, everybody's working at top capacity at all the time.
Right.
Which is wonderful, right?
So, Saeed, I know you're very much in demand.
Not really.
Um,
By my kids, maybe, yes.
I know that you have served as chair of the Youth Retention and Immigration for the One Nova Scotia Coalition, which is the group that is tasked with implementing the Ivany Report's
Correct.
recommendation. I know that you also serve on the board of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. Are we where we need to be in Nova Scotia? I know, like for example, I know you dubbed this Silicon Dartmouth.
Yes.
I know you believe in the community. I know you want to support this community and you want people to stay here and establish businesses, organizations. Do you think we are now, Nova Scotia, where we should be? Or do we still have a lot of work to do?
So I think the word "should" is really relative to where each person wants to be in a community. But what we really should be focused on is one thing: can Nova Scotia grow its economy? I think everything else is actually irrelevant, in my opinion, because if we can't grow the economy, then we can't bring more people to work here. And if we can't bring more people to work here, then we're not going to be able to build better roads, and then we're not going to have more taxes, which means that we're going to be in a much worse shape in our healthcare and then the standard of living that we have. So the most important thing in any society is, can people work, and can you utilize them in an efficient way to produce what they want to produce. But if you cannot find a job, then chances are the economy is not where it should be. So if we cannot have, less than, 6 to 5 to 4%, unemployment rate, then chances are the economy still has room to improve. Once you get to about a 3% unemployment rate, the economy is what is called, based on economists, is very hot. So once we get to there, I think Nova Scotia will be the perfect place, and that's where we should be. So today we're not there, and we need to do more. And the only way to do more is we need to expand our private sector, allow people to operate more businesses, reduce red tape, and ensure that we have more young people staying here, because young people are the ones that start families. They're the ones that buy homes. They're the ones, and so on. And at the same time, if we have more young people here, we can support our seniors, because seniors are retiring.
Right.
But if we can't have more young people to support those seniors, then they're going to have a lower standard of living, and I don't want my parents to have a lower standard of living.
As a CEO, how do you deal with a business challenge?
Right. Yeah, so business challenge is actually a daily reoccurrence. The biggest problem of a CEO is if the person has an ego where he does not want to ask for advice. There's always someone else that has faced the challenge that you faced. So there's always two ways. You can either go the long road and try to solve it yourself and potentially fail at it, or you can always pick up the phone, call a person that call Tanya, call her mother, call the photographer, and just say, hey, what should I do with this lens, because I need to, or you can go research on the internet until you find the answer. But the easiest is, there's always people with more wisdom than you have. Pick up the phone, call them, and just say, hey, I'm having this problem, what should you do? The other thing is, there's a lot of groups that exist out there, some for fees and others for not. The three things that a CEO in a business should do is always have a mentor. In my case, I have a mentor by the name of Bill Ritchie. He's been my mentor since day one, and he's one of the greatest angels of Nova Scotia, and he's a wonderful man that has helped me get to where I'm at today. I have a board that we've put together of successful business people that I can call and ask for help. And there's people in the community that I pick up the phone and send emails. Like yesterday, I sent 150 emails of a new issue that I have, and people are coming back and say, Saeed, you should do this, you should do this. So I'm not afraid of showing people that I don't know everything, and I have a weakness in a specific area, and people come back and they call me and they say, Saeed, you should do this. But it doesn't mean you have to listen to everybody, but you should listen as much as you can and formulate a solution.
What's next for you and for Simplycast?
So next for me and Simplycast is to go IPO. That's been my dream, and I'm hoping in the next few years is to achieve that dream and basically list the company and become the first Nova Scotia tech company to go IPO in Silicon Dartmouth.
Well, on that note, I thank you so much for your time today. I really respect and admire what you're doing for the community and for Nova Scotia, and I see you as my mentor, so I thank you very much.
We learn from each other. Thank you.